just say that, I became a councillor in 2006 in London Borough of Hackney, and at the time I was a very proud owner of a BMW Series 5 saloon car. This very soon became a source of embarrassment for me because a majority of my colleagues, the councillors, including the mayor himself, they all cycle. So when I was driving into Town Hall, they were cycling. So it didn't take me very long to ditch my BMW for a Pashley's. The reason I say it isn't just to brag about my bike was because there's been real emphasis on the political will, and I just wanted to emphasise that the reason Hackney has got the level of cycling it has is because it's had political will, political commitment there, which has been backed by investment for a number of years. And now we're going to my presentation. So a bit about Hackney. We all know that, most of you know that Hackney isn't served very well by rail or underground until very recently. We're in a city borough with a very diverse population, also one of the most deprived areas in the country, but we do have the highest level of cycling in London and a strong cycling culture. As you can see, we currently have the modal share for cycling at the moment is 5%, and we have very ambitious targets. The percentage of our residents cycling to work is at 13% at the moment, and the percentage of council staff cycling to work is at 16% at the moment. These are all stats, these are surveys by TfL, so we trust them. So, so who cycles? Who cycles in Hackney? There is certainly this perception of a typical Hackney cyclist, as it's been mentioned, the Hoxton cyclist, which is sometimes used to suggest that the levels of cycling in Hackney are due to other culture factors unique to social makeup of the borough and therefore not replicable in other places. Cultures are important, yes, to how people view cycling. But one thing that is most interesting about Hackney, and perhaps most comparable to how cycling is perceived by the Dutch, is that cycling seems to be normal in Hackney. People cycle for all sorts of different reasons, all sorts of different bikes. So there isn't a strong perception of, cycling subculture that you may get in some other places where you see majority of people riding similar bikes or, wearing the similar. For similar persons wearing similar gear. Right, so who cycles in Hackney? Very quickly. Right, this is you'll come across this in Hackney. It's school runs very often these days. So what is it that Hackney do, and why are we? what is it that we do that's special? I think I'll go through very few of these because. It's on there. I think one of the most important things that we've done in Hackney is that our approach to schemes isn't just to improve for a single mode. When we approach schemes, it's to improve the area for pedestrians, for disabled people, for cyclists, and for local trade as well. And we've over the past 10 years, we've tried to ensure that everywhere in Hackney is actually accessible for cyclists. We've implemented 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on all our residential roads. And all the other things that are listed on there. But one thing I wanted to pick up, that I want to emphasise, was the relationship we've got with our stakeholders, London Cycle Campaign in Hackney. I don't think we would have got to where we are now without their involvement. I mean, it's been going on. It was going on before I became a cabinet member or a councillor, but it's certainly still going on now. Every scheme that we design, we consult and we talk to and discuss with London Cycle Campaign because they are the cyclists. And before we actually spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on schemes, we want to make sure that we're actually getting it right. So that relationship has been key for us in Hackney. And I just want to say that, this hasn't, the improvement to cycling hasn't just happened overnight in Hackney. This has been, 10 years and hundreds of small schemes and thousands and hundreds of thousands of pounds spent on these schemes. So it's been gradual, but, we've still got a fair way to go. So these are some of the schemes. Just wanted to give you a flavour of some of the schemes that we've undertaken in Hackney. This is improved permeability, as you can see. Modal filtering. This roundabout was a scheme that was picked up by the local cyclists, and there was loads of complaints about it from cyclists for a number of years. So our officers were very brave and found, because to remove that sort of rock, it takes a lot of money. So we found external funding to remove this. So in removing it, we improved the area considerably. As you can see, there is better facilities for pedestrians. On the other side, one of the arms you can't see, but we've got Barclays bike site there. There's a local school. There's a school just around the corner from this junction, and there's huge movement of young, children and pedestrians in the morning. But I can't tell you how difficult it was with the local residents when we were doing this. It was, the perception was that it was really dangerous. It was made even more dangerous. So it was letters in the Gazette. So, and it was really, as a politician, it was very difficult for us. But we overcame it with the support of a local cycling campaign who supported us publicly and ensured that people knew, the local residents knew that they were behind us and supporting us on this scheme. So this is just one of the examples. This is Goldsmiths Row. Which, as you can see, there is segregation for cyclists, but there's also traffic. This was one of the examples of the filter permeability. We closed off we trialled it for a year. We closed off the road to traffic to see what happened, because this was the main route for black cabs escaping from the city into the east of London, and it was used as a rat run as well. It's one of our busiest cycle routes, so we wanted to see what we could do to improve it. So we closed off to motor vehicles and did a lot of, as you can see, improvements to the public realm. It has incredible, it's been incredible. There is increase in pedestrians in the area. It's completely changed the character of the area, and now we've got a book market which takes place on this stretch of the road every Sunday, and it's massively appreciated, I would say, by the local residents. How am I doing?
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
So yes, it's got really positive feedback from residents. Another thing we're doing in the borough is to ensure that where there are one-ways and across the borough, that we ensure that we put in contraflow cyclists. And there's a massive legacy, and I'm sure most London boroughs are suffering from this. So there are, from the between 50s and 90s where there were loads of gyratories in one ways. So we are still having to deal with those. And this is an example of one of the things we're doing to remove severance and band turns and so on in Hackney for cyclists. This is another improvement to a public realm, but we think it also has a massive impact on cyclists. It's ensuring that cyclists are able to cycle everywhere in the borough, so all green spaces with investment put into it. Cycle training. We provide cycle training to all our HGV drivers and also all our contractors, all the Hackney contractors that work with Hackney. And we're so generous, we also provide the HGV cycle training to any HGV driver that is actually passing through Hackney. So I think that's really important. The other thing is, we know in Hackney we've got a majority of our housing is social housing, 52% of it is estate. So, and with most people have very limited space to store a bike. So we are retrofitting cycle parking lockers to a lot of the on a lot of the estates. And going forward, we're going to be making use of the garages that are no longer being used, to retrofit those to turn them into cycle parking for on a majority of the estates in the borough. The bikers' breakfast is also another example of trying to get the communities together, but also to encourage the kids to actually cycle. So the kids that actually come to these bikers' breakfasts actually bring their own bikes to this. And what they do, while they're having breakfast, there's a doctor bike who will work on their bike. So they're more likely to cycle, we believe. I've got a few stats about, following some of the bikers' breakfasts we've done. I believe before, so the schools where we had the bikers' breakfast, before the events, the number of children cycling to schools was 175. On the day, it was 546, and afterwards, although it fell to 254, it was still higher than what it was when they were before the breakfast. Bike across the borough. This was a great one. We've done 2 of these so far. The first one was 120 children from schools cycling from Finsbury Park all the way up to the Olympic Park. But this year we did one with over 240 school children, where we cycled 9 miles around the borough in scorching heat. But it was, it was great to be able to hold up the traffic and take over the roads for over an hour with no one actually getting really angry. How do you get really angry at small kids? So it was great, but it also gives the school children the idea that, they will be able to cycle to any secondary school within the borough, because it will definitely be less than 9 miles. Their journeys will be less than 9 miles. Working with stakeholders, as I said, this is one of our biggest strengths. As I said, we wouldn't be where we are without the continued support of LCC. But we've also set up a HGV working group, which brings together LCC representatives, police, the HGV operators in the council, and council officers. And we work on campaigns and safety issues to do with HGVs. Pictures up there also from, some of them are from the networking evening that was hosted by LCC and the council, which brought together all the practitioners within the borough and anyone that was interested in cycle provision, really. We also held our own conference which was co-hosted with LCC earlier this year, and that was just to showcase some of the stuff, the good practices that we have, but also to learn from other boroughs and other areas about what they do. Right. Almost there. So future plans. It's pretty much do more of what we're doing at the moment, but also we're going to we are trialing 20 miles per hour speed limits on some of our principal roads, along with Islington, who are implementing it across the borough. We want to do more targeted work with groups that are not cycling as much as we would like them to, like residents on the estates. We want to continue addressing areas to improve permeability, as it says on there, and tackling, we've got a massive list of one-ways and gyratories that we've been handed by LCC, and we have to work, we're working our way through them, as the funding becomes available, and that's something that we want to go forward. Cycle theft is a massive issue, not just for Hackney, I'm sure for the whole of London, and we want to continue addressing safety. So in conclusion, I will say the success of Hackney, our approaches, the great partnership work we've got, the political will and the willingness to put the funding to back it up. And what else was there? Yeah, so modal filtering, improved permeability, engagement, and as I said, the most important thing, you politicians have got to want this to happen, because the money, you get with the finite resources in local government at the moment, you've got to want to invest in cycle infrastructure, and without that, we're not going to get anywhere. Thank you very much.